Section 1. The American Standard.
So, this foundational creation carries some serious sensory weight. By meticulously blending cream and whole milk, dairymen hit a fat content high enough to yield this uniquely dense, smooth structure. The flavor profile? It's perfectly balanced. It's mild, a little bit tangy, and faintly sweet, carrying a really comforting, heavy presence on the palate. And you know, that 1872 accident didn't just stay a local curiosity. By 1880, it was formalized and introduced to the world as the Philadelphia brand. From that exact moment, it cemented itself as a globally recognized culinary foundation, and it absolutely remains the dominant name in the category today.
The real physical magic of this 33% fat block is all about how it behaves at different temperatures. When it's cold in the fridge, the texture is remarkably firm, holding its shape with resolute strength. But leave it out at room temperature, and it softens beautifully into something effortlessly spreadable. This dual nature is exactly why it anchors such a massive spectrum of foods. We're talking everything from the dense architecture of baked cheesecakes and thick bagel spreads to the delicate sweetness of frosting and the savory depth of party dips. It is literally the ultimate reliable neutral base.
Section 2. The French Inspiration. Now, within the American market itself, there is a pretty dramatic contrast. On one side, you have your standard 33% fat block, and right next to it on the shelf, American Neufchâtel. American Neufchâtel is a significantly softer, reduced fat variation. It actually pulls off this lighter identity by flipping the dairy ratio entirely. It's made with way more milk and much less cream than the standard version.
The crucial number here is 23%. By dropping the fat down to that 23% reality, American Neufchâtel becomes slightly softer, obviously less dense, and actually possesses a marginally tangier flavor. It's almost always marketed as a lighter alternative, but there's a fascinating sensory illusion at play here. In most cooked dishes, you literally can't tell the difference. The fat reduction is completely imperceptible. But if you use it raw, say spreading it directly onto your morning toast, that unmistakably less rich texture is immediately obvious.
Okay, but we really need to set the historical record straight here. The original French Neufchâtel from Normandy, which they've been crafting since at least the 10th century, by the way, is a genuinely different product. It's a soft, slightly grainy fresh cheese characterized by a bloomy white rind that develops during a short aging process. It is completely and utterly unlike the 19th century American reduced-fat cream cheese that essentially just borrowed its name. They might share a title and a very superficial resemblance, but trust me, their souls are entirely distinct.
Section 3. Texture, air, and flavor.
Let's talk about the mechanical wizardry of whipped cream cheese. Here, the standard block is forcefully incorporated with air, causing its density per volume to just plummet. The result is a noticeably lighter texture that spreads immediately, straight from the refrigerator. No softening required and absolutely no tearing of your fresh bread. And while it contains the exact same ingredients and identical flavor as the block version, it creates a profoundly different eating experience. It just feels so much lighter on the palate.
However, there is a necessary, uncompromising trade-off here. This airy convenience comes with a fatal flaw if you're stepping into the kitchen. Whipped cream cheese will fail completely in baking or cooking. Why? Because its entire volume relies on trapped air, and that structure rapidly collapses under heat, leaving you with a totally inconsistent, ruined texture. So, if you need structural integrity, the classic block still reigns supreme.
Beyond just air, we have the immense commercial world of flavored cream cheeses. This category is driven almost entirely by our modern desire for culinary convenience. It's a massive, ready-to-use spectrum. You've got the savory depths of chive and onion, garlic and herb, jalapeno, and smoked salmon, right over to the sweet comforts of strawberry, blueberry, and honey walnut.
But you should know there is a stark quality divide that fractures this category. At the artisan level, you've got producers folding real, whole ingredients into a high-quality base. They carefully choose additions that actually complement the specific tang and dairy character of the cheese. On the mass market side, though, genuine ingredients are frequently swapped out for artificial flavor compounds and stabilizers. They're basically masking inferior bases to pump out a consistent, but ultimately less interesting novelty product.
Section 4. Pushing boundaries of richness.
Now we're escalating into pure decadence. We start at our 33% standard, right? But then we push the proportion of cream even higher, entering double cream territory at 40% fat, which you'll often see labeled as rich or extra creamy. Finally, we climb to the extravagant heights of Italian mascarpone, peaking between 40 and 50% fat. This is achieved by draining cream that's been acidified with citric or tartaric acid.
The sensory science behind this jump is absolutely fascinating. When you push the cream ratio that high, the fat actively dilutes the acidic tang naturally produced during fermentation. The result? You lose that sharp bite entirely and gain a mouth-coating, uniform smoothness. This profoundly rich, mellow texture is designed specifically for maximum indulgence. It's exactly why mascarpone is the undeniable soul of desserts like tiramisu.
Section 5. Modern Standards and Alternatives.
Let's look at organic cream cheese. The organic certification strictly prohibits synthetic pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, and specific veterinary treatments, while placing a heavy emphasis on animal welfare. But does it actually taste different? Well, the truth is, while we as consumers seek out these ethical standards, the noticeably cleaner, more complex flavor you find in the best organic cream cheeses actually stems more from the fresh, careful handling at small dairies than from the certification alone. In fact, mass-market organic versions can sometimes be functionally indistinguishable from conventional ones.
Then, of course, we have the plant-based revolution. Over the past decade or so, food technology has advanced remarkably to meet consumer demand. Now we see these really meticulous combinations of cultures, acidifiers, and stabilizers applied to non-dairy bases, primarily cashews, almonds, coconut cream, and soy. They are all striving to approximate that unmistakable texture and flavor of the dairy original.
And these non-dairy bases actually behave in very distinct ways. Cashew, for instance, mimics the richness and smoothness best, and it readily accepts cultures to develop a genuine fermented tanginess. Coconut, on the other hand, almost invariably leaves a faint coconut undertone. Now, the gap between high-quality vegan cream cheese and dairy has narrowed so much that the difference is incredibly subtle when cooked. But if you're eating it raw, that distinction remains strikingly clear.
Section 6. The ancient yogurt cheese.
Finally, we have to talk about Labneh. Now, while its exact origin and method differ from the American standard, its texture and function absolutely demand its inclusion in this explainer. Labneh is a Middle Eastern strained yogurt cheese. Because it uses a yogurt base and undergoes deep lactic fermentation, it possesses a fiercely acidic, deeply tangy character that completely sets it apart from the mild American block we're so used to.
The creation of Labneh is this beautiful, ancient, patient process. It starts with a cultured yogurt base, which is suspended in cloth and strained. This progressive removal of whey takes anywhere from a few hours to several days, and the longer it strains, the firmer and more concentrated it becomes. It transforms from a thick, spreadable breakfast staple, which is traditionally drizzled with olive oil across Turkey and the Middle East, into something incredibly dense.
And this leaves us with a profound image of historical depth and endurance. When pushed to its absolute limit, fully drained Labneh can actually be rolled into firm spheres coated in fragrant attar or dried herbs and submerged in olive oil. Preserved exactly like this, it can last for weeks without spoiling. It's a stunning testament to the enduring power, the versatility, and the rich cultural tapestry of what we loosely yet lovingly call cream cheese. So it really leaves us with one big question. As our food technology and tastes continue to evolve, what entirely new texture will this centuries-old dairy tradition take on next?